Ever walk down the street avoiding the cracks? Or pretend that the floor is lava with sofas, cushions and trained rideable pigs the only means of navigation? Trained rideable lava-proof pigs. I didn't let inconsistencies like that get past me as a kid. I was fun to be around though. Honest. Well, these two examples go at least some way in describing a game. In broad strokes, games are about restrictions and rules. Playing a game is to make a contract with those rules, promising to operate within them. The joy of the experience is learning to cope with the constraints, exploring the available options, and choosing a path onwards. Chess provides a simple example of the complexity which a few restrictions on the player can create. The play space of chess is limited to a simple 8x8 grid with its pieces split into classes defined by their different movesets. Pawns, rooks, knights, bishops, a king and a queen. As an historical aside, the Charge of the Light Brigade was technically an illegal chess move, what with cavalry units having to move in a hooky L shape rather than a straight full-on charge. This famously netted them with a historic forfeit of both a poem by Tennyson and let's see here in my notes. Oh yes, death. It netted them death. A massacre, in fact. Should have spent less time at cavalry school and more time at chess school. I guess. Get your priorities straight, Lord Raglan. Jeez. Historical asides over, chess has a couple of other restrictions besides movement and the play space. There are the rules of promotion, castling, checking and checkmate, and en passant, but let's not fall down the chess rabbit hole here because then I'll start rambling on about Shang-Chi and this video will never get to the actual point. The thrust of this preamble is that chess's fairly short set of restrictions, which could be written on a sheet of paper with room to spare, unfurl into billions upon billions of different possible games of chess. The navigation of these possibilities is the magic of the game. The same is true of video games. Hit points are a simple example, providing a hard limit to how much damage you can take. Players have to engage with the systems of the game in order to prevent their health hitting zero. In a similar way, navigation in games is limited, both by the movements allowed by that particular game, as well as by the design of their virtual spaces. A common game design term refers to the actions allowed by a game as verbs. Rules and restrictions govern what a player can do in a game space, it being down to the player to find ways of expressing themselves within these frameworks with the verbs available to them. A recent game that took this idea and ran with it beautifully is Minit. The basic conceit is that the player's life is not only governed by hit points, but also by a time limit, 60 seconds to be precise. Although death spells the end of each run, certain events and items carry over between lives, alongside the player's expanding mental map of the game world. It's basically a roguelike Metroid No, I'm sorry, get back. Get back, video game vocabulary police. I promise not to do it again. I promise. Yep, go. You don't even have a warrant. Get out. Anyway, around this 60 seconds per life constraint, the game builds a beautiful short experience. The timer is always visible, always ticking down, always asking, are you sure you've got enough time to do that? That isn't to say that Minit is a particularly hard game, but it still instills this rhythm of mild panic followed by relief when you complete the goal which you set out to do. Each run in Minit builds your knowledge of the world a little bit. Spokes out from your little respawn hubs are gently teased, your forays getting longer as you unlock new items, abilities and shortcuts. Obstacles are telegraphed as places you'll need to come back to later when you're better equipped. Its short length and smallish world mean that you're never really scrabbling around wondering where to go, but that little chemical burst of achievement when you're able to traverse a new route is still there every time. Well, that and I love chopping down trees with a sword probably says more about me than the game really. Die, trees, die! If there's any complaints against Minit, it's that, at least barring a couple of puzzles, it never really seizes hold of the Groundhog Day mechanics of it, the time limit mainly being used as a means to funnel players down a single path during each run. But, on the whole, the game's simplicity lets that central concept shine, unburdened by the extra systems and layers that a longer experience would most probably Katamari up. It just goes to show, sometimes the simplest of rules can make for the most compelling experiences. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to find some way to get across this floor lava to the kitchen.